It all began on a quiet summer evening. The sky was clear, the stars shining brightly above. Humans had only recently made contact with the aliens. At first, everything seemed perfect. The aliens, calling themselves the Exolrith, were peaceful and offered a solution to many of Earth's problems, cures for diseases, energy sources, and technology far beyond human understanding. The world celebrated the arrival of the Exolrith, believing they were here to help. But then, everything changed. The first signs of trouble appeared in a small town in the middle of nowhere. People started getting sick. At first, it was just a few cases of fever, chills, and a strange rash. Doctors thought it was just another flu virus. But as days passed, the disease spread rapidly. No one knew how, but it didn't stop. People were dying. The hospitals filled up with sick patients, and the world was thrown into chaos. Panic spread faster than the virus. The Exolrith, who had promised to help, claimed they were working to find a cure. But their help came too late. The virus was spreading faster than anyone could understand, and it wasn't just killing, it was changing people. Those infected seemed to lose control, their eyes glowing a strange shade of green. Some even began acting different, dangerous. A team of scientists led by Dr. Emma Carter, a brilliant virologist, was called in to investigate. They worked around the clock to study the virus, but nothing made sense. The virus wasn't like anything they had ever seen. It moved through the body quickly, mutating with every attempt to cure it. Each treatment only made it worse. Dr. Carter was desperate. She knew something had to be wrong. She spent countless hours in her lab, studying the samples they had collected, trying to find any clue about the virus's origins. Then one night, something caught her eye: an unusual pattern in the virus's genetic code. It wasn't natural. It was engineered. Someone had created it on purpose. The thought hit her like a lightning bolt. Could the Exolrith be behind it? Were they intentionally releasing this plague to weaken humanity? Dr. Carter couldn't believe it. She had trusted them. But the more she thought about it, the more it made sense. The Exolrith had been offering so much, almost as if they wanted humanity to depend on them. But why? Her fears were confirmed when she discovered a secret document buried deep within the data. It was a message from the Exolrith's leader, addressed to his people. The message explained that the plague was no accident. It had been designed to weaken Earth's population. The Exolrith needed humanity's resources, and the virus was the perfect way to take control. The alien race was dying, their home planet falling apart. They needed Earth's resources to survive, but they couldn't simply invade directly. The virus was their plan, a silent weapon to reduce Earth's population, making it easier for them to conquer the planet once it was weakened. Dr. Carter was horrified. She now had the truth, but no way to stop it. The virus was too powerful. The Exolrith had already begun taking control of Earth's key areas, using their advanced technology to manipulate the situation. And all over the world, people were still getting infected, their bodies changing, their minds becoming more and more under the aliens' influence. Time was running out. Dr. Carter knew she had to act quickly. She reached out to a small group of survivors, including soldiers, doctors, and other scientists who had managed to avoid the virus. Together, they would have to figure out how to stop the plague and expose the Exolrith before it was too late. But as they began planning, a new twist emerged. The virus, which had been spreading through human populations, was beginning to affect the Exolrith themselves. The disease had mutated, and now the aliens were suffering too. They were just as vulnerable as humans. It didn't take long for Dr. Carter to realize that the Exolrith were not entirely in control. The virus, now beyond their understanding, was affecting them as well. Their plans were falling apart. Some of the Exolrith began acting strangely, just like the infected humans, losing their minds and becoming uncontrollable. But the worst part, the virus was evolving. It wasn't just a simple disease anymore, it was something far worse. It was becoming a weapon capable of spreading across galaxies, making entire civilizations collapse in chaos. Dr. Carter and the group of survivors were faced with an impossible decision. They could try to find a cure and stop the virus from spreading, but it would take time, and every second was a risk. Or they could confront the Exelrith directly, expose their plan to the world, and force them to end their invasion before it went too far. The team knew that any choice could lead to disaster. They had no way of knowing what would happen next. All they knew was that they were humanity's last hope. Just as they began to prepare for their final mission, a terrifying message arrived from the Exelrith. Their invasion was about to begin. The alien fleet was on its way, and Earth was defenseless. Dr. Carter's heart raced as she looked at the team. The virus, the aliens, the future of humanity, it was all coming to a head. There was no turning back. The final battle for Earth had begun, and no one knew who would survive. When the aliens first arrived on Earth, it felt like a dream come true. For years, humans had been staring at the stars, wondering if they were alone. The Exelrith, as they called themselves, had come in peace. They offered their advanced technology, cures for diseases, and promises of a new era of cooperation between Earth and their race. People were hopeful. But no one expected what would happen next. It all started with a new disease, a strange plague that swept across the planet, faster than anyone could control. At first, people thought it was just another virus. But this one was different. It wasn't like anything the medical world had seen before. It moved quickly, changing with each passing day. One by one, cities fell into panic. Hospitals became overcrowded, and soon, it seemed like the whole world was infected. The Exelrith promised they could help. Their scientists quickly set up labs to study the plague, claiming that their advanced technology could find a cure. The world trusted them. But as the days turned into weeks, the virus continued to spread, and people began to lose hope. Dr. James Grant, a brilliant scientist from the United States, was one of the few who refused to give up. He worked tirelessly, trying to find any clue about how to stop the plague. But the more he worked, the more he began to suspect that something was wrong. The Exelrith, despite all their promises, seemed strangely uninterested in solving the problem. They provided technology, but it wasn't enough. The virus was still killing people, and the aliens offered no real solution. One night, while working late in his lab, Dr. Grant stumbled upon something that shocked him. He was analyzing the virus when he found something that didn't make sense. The virus seemed to have a strange pattern. It wasn't just random, it was almost engineered. This wasn't a natural disease, it was a weapon. His mind raced. Could the Exelrith be behind this? Could they have released this plague on purpose? Dr. Grant knew he had to find answers, but he didn't know who to trust. The world was in chaos, and the Exelrith were becoming more and more secretive. They controlled the best technology, and their presence in Earth's governments was growing stronger by the day. Dr. Grant decided to dig deeper. He contacted a few trusted colleagues, including Lieutenant Sarah Harris, a military officer who had been working closely with the Exelrith. Together, they began searching for clues. What they found shook them to their core. The Exelrith weren't just helping, they were controlling. They had been manipulating the spread of the plague, using it as a tool to weaken humanity. They wanted Earth's resources, and the virus was the perfect way to make humans desperate and easy to control. As they continued their investigation, Dr. Grant and Lieutenant Harris uncovered a shocking truth. Key officials in governments around the world were in on the plan. They had made secret deals with the Exelrith, trading Earth's resources for promises of power and technology. The plague wasn't an accident. It was a calculated move by the aliens to make Earth vulnerable to their takeover. But the most shocking part of all came when they learned that the Exelrith's leader, a figure known as Zorath, had once been human. Years ago, Zorath had been a brilliant scientist, one of the brightest minds on Earth. But something had happened. Zorath had disappeared, and now he was leading the Exelrith's efforts to conquer humanity. Dr. Grant and Lieutenant Harris knew that they had to act fast. The truth had to come out, but how could they expose the Exelrith when they had already infiltrated Earth's highest levels? They had to warn the world, but even if they did, would anyone believe them? The Exelrith had gained too much power, and the virus was still spreading. It was a race against time. As they planned their next move, a dark figure appeared: Agent Cole, a mysterious man who had been working for the Exelrith all along. He revealed himself as a double agent, sent to stop Dr. Grant and Lieutenant Harris before they could expose the truth. Cole had been secretly working with the aliens for years, and now he was ready to eliminate anyone who stood in their way. In a tense confrontation, Cole confessed that the Exelrith's plan had always been to weaken humanity and take over. The virus was just the first step. The next phase of the invasion would be far worse. And the humans who had made deals with the aliens? They were already too far gone, under the aliens' control, serving their new masters. But just as Cole was about to strike, a surprise happened. The virus that the Exelrith had created began to mutate. It was no longer just a tool to control humans. It was affecting the aliens too. The Exelrith, who had once been immune to the virus, now found themselves in danger of being infected. Their perfect plan was falling apart. Dr. Grant and Lieutenant Harris realized that this was their chance. The Exelrith might be suffering, but they were still powerful, and they would stop at nothing to finish what they started. The two of them had to act quickly before it was too late. In a final, desperate attempt to save humanity, Dr. Grant and Lieutenant Harris launched a plan to expose the truth about the Exelrith. They sent the evidence to every news agency, every government, and every world leader. But would it be enough? The Exelrith were already preparing for their final invasion, and the world was still reeling from the effects of the plague. As the final battle between humanity and the Exelrith approached, Dr. Grant and Lieutenant Harris knew one thing for sure: the truth was out, but whether humanity could survive the alien betrayal was still uncertain. The world had never seen anything like it. It started as a whisper, a disease that spread quickly but didn't seem dangerous at first. People had minor symptoms, headaches, fatigue, a slight fever. But within days, the illness began to evolve. More people fell ill, and soon entire cities were struck with strange symptoms. Some people's skin began to turn pale, their eyes bloodshot and glowing. Others became aggressive, their minds clouded by something that made them act out of control. The disease was unlike anything the world had known before. Scientists couldn't figure out what it was, and hospitals were overwhelmed. Panic spread faster than the plague itself. The governments of Earth scrambled to find a cure, but no one had any answers. The Exelrith, a race of advanced aliens who had been working with humanity for years, stepped forward with a solution. They offered their technology, their medical knowledge, and their resources to fight the plague. But it was already too late. Dr. Emily Carter, a leading scientist working in a global medical research center, was among the first to notice something strange. She'd been working day and night trying to analyze the virus. At first, it seemed like a natural mutation, something that could happen in any population. But as she delved deeper into the virus's genetic code, she discovered something shocking. It wasn't natural at all. The virus had been tampered with, altered. Someone had designed it. Someone had planned it. But who? And why? Dr. Carter began investigating further. She knew that time was running out and that the truth needed to be uncovered, but she also knew that revealing the truth could put her in grave danger. The Exelrith, who had offered to help humanity, had become too powerful. They controlled the information, the resources, and even the world's governments. They promised to save Earth from the plague, but what if they were hiding something more dangerous? As she dug deeper, Dr. Carter uncovered something terrifying. The Exelrith were not here to help, they were here to take control. The plague was just the beginning of their plan. The virus was a weapon designed to weaken humanity so the Exelrith could invade and take over Earth without resistance. The virus wasn't only attacking humans, it was also affecting the Exelrith. Their perfect plan was starting to fall apart as the disease began mutating in ways they hadn't predicted. It was clear that the Exelrith were fighting the same battle as humanity now. The plague was out of their control. But this revelation only deepened the mystery. Who had created the virus in the first place? Dr. Carter knew that the Exelrith didn't have the means to make such a virus on their own. It had to be someone else, someone working in secret. Dr. Carter turned to a trusted ally, Lieutenant Alex Harris, a former military officer who had been investigating the rise of the Exelrith influence across Earth. They had worked together in the past, and he knew how to dig through layers of deception. Together, they uncovered a shocking truth. There was a hidden war, a war that had been brewing for years between the Exelrith and a group of humans who had been secretly collaborating with them. This group, known as the New Order, had made secret deals with the Exelrith, offering humanity's resources and loyalty in exchange for power and advanced technology. They'd been working in the shadows, feeding information to the Exelrith, while the rest of the world remained unaware. The New Order had intentionally unleashed the virus to weaken humanity and pave the way for a greater Exelrith invasion. They believed that by controlling the world's key leaders and institutions, they could forge a new world order with the Exelrith at the top. It was a betrayal on a scale no one could have imagined. But not all humans were on board with this plan. A small resistance movement, led by those who had uncovered the truth, began to form. They knew they had to stop both the virus and the New Order before it was too late. Dr. Carter and Lieutenant Harris joined the movement, their eyes set on stopping the aliens and the traitors who had betrayed humanity. As they planned their attack on the Exelrith's headquarters, they faced new challenges. The resistance was outnumbered, outgunned, and spread thin. The Exelrith had already established military bases across Earth, using their advanced technology to secure their hold. But worse still, the virus was mutating rapidly. It was evolving into something even more dangerous, something that could spread across the planet faster than they could fight it. Time was running out. Dr. Carter and the resistance group had one chance to stop the Exelrith and the New Order. They had learned of a secret research facility deep underground, where the virus had been created. The facility was heavily guarded, but it was the only place where they could find the answers they needed to destroy the virus for good. As they prepared for the final mission, they realized something that chilled them to the bone. The virus wasn't just a weapon. It was part of a larger plan to turn Earth into a breeding ground for a new alien race. The Exelrith and the New Order were working together to genetically modify humanity, turning them into something new, something that could be controlled. The resistance launched their attack on the facility. It was a battle like no other, with explosions, firefights, and betrayals. But even as they fought, they knew that the true enemy was still out there, waiting. The Exelrith were not finished, and the New Order had their own hidden agendas. The future of Earth was at stake, and no one could be sure who would win. As Dr. Carter and her team entered the underground facility, they realized that the battle was only just beginning. The true war, the war for humanity's freedom, was about to unfold in ways they never imagined. It all started with a strange signal, something no one could explain. At first, it was dismissed as a glitch in the system, a random piece of cosmic noise. But as days passed, the signal grew stronger, more distinct. It wasn't natural. It was artificial. Dr. Sarah Hayes, a leading scientist at the Global Space Research Center, was the first to realize that the signal wasn't a mistake. It was a message. And it was coming from the stars. As the days went by, the signal continued to pulse, echoing through the world's most powerful radio telescopes. The message was simple but terrifying. We are coming. No one knew what it meant or who it was from. But the world's governments took immediate notice. They scrambled to gather every resource and every scientist in an attempt to decipher the message. Weeks later, the answer arrived. The Exelrith, a race of aliens who had been watching Earth from afar for centuries, were finally making their move. And they weren't coming as friends. The world was unprepared for the invasion. Earth had seen science fiction movies about alien invasions, but nothing could prepare them for the real thing. The Exelrith's ships appeared in Earth's orbit, massive and silent, blocking out the sun for days. They didn't land. They didn't communicate, they just hovered in the sky. The global panic was immediate. People rushed to the streets, unsure of what to do. Governments declared martial law. Military forces mobilized. But no one had any idea what the Exelrith wanted or how to stop them. The aliens made no demands, and their ships remained silent, offering no clue about their intentions. Dr. Hayes was one of the few people who didn't panic. She had spent years studying the stars, looking for any signs of intelligent life. She believed that the Exelrith's appearance wasn't just a random event. It was something planned, something that had been set in motion long before Earth ever made contact with them. As she studied the signal further, Dr. Hayes realized something that shocked her. The Exelrith weren't here to help. They weren't here to share their knowledge or technology. They were here to conquer. The Exelrith were ancient and powerful. They had spent centuries building an empire across the stars, conquering planet after planet. Earth was just another world to them, a world ripe for the taking. And they had no intention of sharing it with humans. The first signs of the invasion came when the skies began to glow a strange, eerie green. It wasn't an explosion, but a strange energy field that spread across the world like a virus. The Exarith were attacking from the skies, hacking into Earth's satellites, disabling communication networks, and rendering military technology useless. Panic spread like wildfire. Without satellites and communication, cities became isolated. Governments struggled to maintain order. The global economy collapsed in a matter of days, and entire countries fell into chaos. The people were afraid. The aliens had no known weaknesses, and their power seemed limitless. Dr. Hayes knew that something had to be done. If they didn't find a way to stop the Exelrith now, humanity would be doomed. She gathered a small team of scientists and military experts to work together, searching for any weakness in the alien technology. The team spent countless hours studying the Exelrith ships, analyzing the strange energy fields they emitted. What they discovered sent chills down their spines. The energy fields weren't just blocking Earth's communication systems, they were altering the atmosphere itself. The Exelrith were changing Earth's environment, making it more hospitable to their species while making it less so for humans. But there was still hope. Dr. Hayes discovered a small anomaly in the energy field. It was a weakness, something that could be exploited. But they had to act quickly. The longer the Exelrith stayed in Earth's orbit, the more they would reshape the planet to suit their needs. With time running out, Dr. Hayes and her team developed a plan. They would use Earth's remaining satellites to send a signal directly to the Exelrith's ships, exploiting the weakness they had found. If it worked, it could disrupt their energy fields long enough to give humanity a fighting chance. But there was a catch. The plan was dangerous. The signal would need to be transmitted from one of the alien ships, and that meant infiltrating the Exelrith's base. No one knew what kind of defenses the aliens had, and no one knew how they would respond to such a bold move. As the world prepared for the final confrontation, Dr. Hayes and her team made their way to the heart of the Exelrith invasion, an enormous alien ship that hovered just above them. Earth's surface. They had to move fast, knowing that if they failed, humanity's future would be sealed. The journey to the ship was perilous. Every step they took brought them closer to danger. The Exelrith had already begun sending drones to patrol the area, looking for any human resistance. And even worse, Dr. Hayes knew that there was a traitor among them. Someone on her team had been leaking information to the aliens, feeding them valuable intelligence about their plans. The closer they got to the ship, the more tense things became. The team had to navigate through alien defenses, avoiding detection at every turn. But just as they were about to reach the heart of the ship, disaster struck. The traitor revealed themselves, sabotaging their efforts and alerting the Exelrith to their presence. A fierce battle erupted within the alien ship. Dr. Hayes and her team fought desperately to reach the control room, where they could transmit the signal to disrupt the Exelrith's energy field. But the Exelrith weren't going down without a fight. The aliens' technology was far superior to anything Earth had, and the team was outmatched at every turn. With time running out and the fate of Earth hanging in the balance, Dr. Hayes made a daring move. She activated the signal herself, knowing it could cost her life. The energy field flickered, weakened, and for the first time, humanity had a chance to fight back. But as the team retreated from the alien ship, they realized something chilling. This was only the beginning. The Exelrith had a backup plan, and they were prepared for humanity's resistance. The battle for Earth had just begun.